Hello, welcome to possibly the final episode of the Death and Glory podcasts. Today we're going to hear from Chris Duffett, who is the final artist of the season. He's produced an exhibition called Darkness and Light, or Darkness in Light. I should have done the research on that. But we're going to show a short film from Chris about that exhibition, and then I'm going to spend a bit of time having a conversation with him. So we'll see what he has to say about it. So sit back and enjoy the film. Here's Chris Duffett with his exhibition, Darkness and Light.
Welcome to my new series of paintings, Light in Darkness. 20 new paintings capturing light that is not overcome by darkness. Now, I don't know how you process the hard stuff that goes on in your life. What do you do to be able to manage the pain and the darkness that you encounter every day? People who are going through the most impossible of situations. Well, for me, I pick up a paintbrush, and the birth of this new series of paintings was when I encountered darkness in the lives of my friends. And I felt it so keenly, and I needed to do something, and the paintbrush became an instrument of intercession. An opportunity for me to pour out. It wasn't a cathartic experience, it was an intercessory experience. Being able to bring my friends and those that I work with and those that I train to the Lord Jesus and declare over their lives, as I painted and I layered light and darkness, I declared that darkness shall not overcome light, that light shall be the victorious element within their hopeless situations. And as I painted, I started to create scenes that were like galaxies. And I turned to the Gospel of John, and where I read that the Word became flesh, that God came to dwell with us, the one who created the stars, who put together the planet, is the one who comes to be with us. So within this new series of paintings, you will see perhaps galaxies. You might see images within these abstract scenes that declare that big God comes to be with us in our darkness and brings light. So my prayer is that whatever pain and darkness that you are encountering, that these paintings would be as intercession for what you are going through, that they would give you strength, that the one who says, if you walk with me, you will not walk in darkness, that he is with you.
That's powerful stuff. Thanks for joining us, Chris. That's a good film.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what? That was just all in one take from sitting in a dark room. I
Oh,
said to my friend, look, I
yeah.
haven't scripted anything. I don't know what I'm going to say. Could you just film me sitting in this dark room and walk into the light? And as he walked backwards, amazingly didn't like fall over. He's filming like that. And it's just flowing. I didn't even know what I was going to say. I'm going to be honest with you. I'd just done the hoovering in the cafe and loaded the dishwasher,
Yeah.
and I was fairly knackered after a long day. And the film just kind of flowed, and it was like, oh yeah, that's it.
It worked very much like the Spice Girls wannabe film. That's all one take, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit different, maybe, Neil, but yeah, I'll go with it.
The end would have finished it off. I think may have ruined the mood, I guess. But anyway, so one of the first thing that struck me about that, and I thought was very powerful, was that you said this isn't cathartic, it's intercessory, which is about praying for others, isn't it? And often when people talk about this kind of thing, it's always all cathartic and we've got to get closure and all this kind of stuff. And that's as though, particularly around grief and pain, that we can sort it out and then we can move on. And my experience is that it's not about that. It's actually about learning to live with it and the scar tissue growing over it. It never goes. So this idea, so I'll let you talk in a minute, this idea that these paintings, they aren't right, I'm fixed now, they're a part of my past and I can move on. Actually, these are a constant intercession. I thought that was, to be blunt, I thought that was beautiful.
Thanks, Neil. There's someone who looked at one of the paintings. They came to like the opening thing a few months ago, and they looked at one painting and they said, something is going on in me and I don't know how to respond. But they just kept like standing with the painting. And I got an email last week from the person who looks after the house where these paintings are. And she just turned up and said, look, I just need to look at that painting again. And she goes and just spends an hour just looking at the painting.
Yeah.
And the painting is called I Know Your Tears. And there's something about the title of the painting and also what has gone on as I'm creating it, that she feels utterly known and is having this response to my prayer as I'm creating it. And there's a whole load of mess that's gone on around me in the lives of people. A bit of mess in my life, you know, not nothing hugely like, but it's mess.
Yeah.
So I'm painting this out of mess and pain, and then someone connects with it, and it is like a prayer for her. She's just like, I am known by God. God knows my tears. I'm not crying alone here. And the painting has helped her kind of get that. So anyway, you're right. It isn't just a jolly, nice, therapeutic thing to do, a bit of a luxury. This is a prayer, I believe, in painting form.
And this is partly, I think, the mystery of art, isn't it? I often ponder this because I'm quite rational, or some people would say unemotional. But when art works and different art works for different people, you know, for some people it's music and certain types of music or art, you know, whatever sculptures, all that kind of stuff. It varies for different people, but sometimes a bit of art just gets you. And we forget, I think, in a very rational age that we think it's all about the empirical stuff, which is important. You know, I think science and spirituality sit together, and they should sit together. People think, well, if you're spiritual, you're denying science. Well, you're not. But spirituality is a different type of evidence, isn't it? So, because I don't really like poetry. I try every now and then. But there's a poem I read a couple of years ago. Someone gave me a poetry book, because every now and then it's like jazz. I've got a couple of people who like something a lot, and I'm like, it leaves me cold. So my jazz friend and my poetry friend. Every now and then they go, try this. And usually it's like, yeah. But he gave me this book, and I read the first poem in the book, and I had to close the book, and I could not go back to it for weeks, because I thought, I can't ruin this. And I can't remember what the poem's called now, or even the poet, no offense to him, but the poem was about a pier catching fire. That's all it was. But I read it, and it's like,
whoa.
And I had to. I thought I nothing is going to compare with this. So it's like, I can't read poetry ever again, because that's it. It's weird, isn't it? How something
That is weird.
Oh,
yeah.
So, and I think your art, because I've seen it around, I think all art pretty much comes from here. Although even artists will discuss the differences, won't they, from a very technical artist to a more, I don't know, freer kind of style. There may be bitter rivalries, I don't know, but your art is very much, I think, from the kind of freer flowing, isn't it? And I think there's something about that does speak to people. You don't go, oh, look at the detail on that, like you do with some art. You kind of go, and you soak it in.
Yeah, that's my hope, that it speaks. I mean, it's the old cliche, isn't it? A picture speaks 1,000 words. But I'm hoping that in that moment I've captured something of what God is doing in me.
Yeah.
And it's flowed out. And so the very first light and darkness paintings that I created was because I did not know what to do. I was utterly lost in knowing what to do, in handling the pain of my friends around me.
Yeah.
So I just sat there and moved some color around, started putting texture in, and all of a sudden this light started to emerge in all the browns and the darkness of the color. It's like, there we go, there's light in darkness, and light won't be overcome by darkness.
Yeah, that's partly why we've asked you to come along, and you're at the kind of end of our season. We're just moving into All Hallows Tide, which is a time when traditionally the church, and well, actually lots of cultures and lots of faiths have marked that when the year turns, and it seems to take a step into darkness, doesn't it? Human beings, and I think this is part of our shared spirituality of human beings. Human beings said, well, no, I'm going to light a fire. I'm going to remember. I'm going to remember life and light in the midst of this. So you kind of you're tipping us over into that season when I think we are defiantly saying no to the darkness.
I love that, Neil. I love that no, and that is within the paintings, this sense of, hang on, darkness will not overcome this light. Yeah. And I just think of those words at the beginning of John's Gospel in the Bible, where it describes, the Word, meaning Jesus, became flesh, dwelt with us, came to be with us. And then it says the light shines in the darkness. The light, he is the light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. And my paintings and the light and darkness paintings, they seek to be that no. It's like, hang on, this isn't the last word here. No matter how dark, there's light.
Yeah. And that's the reason we've linked death and glory together, because death on its own is a bit grim and hopeless, isn't it? But glory, just glory on its own, I think I've said this elsewhere, is hollow, in a sense that the glory is shown in contrast with. I mean, I'm not arguing for a yin and a yang balance, but what I'm saying is that actually life shows itself to be more powerful, and perhaps over the season the emphasis may have been more around death. We've looked at some quite serious and grim stuff, but we've also tried to remind ourselves that the light does shine, that people that life is more powerful. And a lot of the messages we have from our faith is that, I love the book of Revelation. A lot of people think it's weird, kooky stuff, which it is, but in the midst of all that is this beautiful image that blood and fire and darkness and evil and suffering. Yeah, but it ain't going to win.
Yes.
Light is more powerful. So it doesn't deny that. So, and your paintings, they don't go, everything's great, everything's rosy. Here's a lovely meadow scene with all the animals, sitting together and everyone's happy. It says this is crappy, but it's not all there is. And that's, the light breaks in, doesn't it? And I like, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks, Neil.
yeah. I'll let you get a word in again at some point soon. I think the other thing, because that we have talked about before, is the idea that death isn't just about a physical death. Is it? Death is a powerful force. We over the season we have come up with a theme about living in a death cult. That if you look at one of the reasons I don't watch telly very much is because it's full of people being murdered, and a lot of TV shows and stuff. And I'm not squeamish about that kind of stuff, but it's just, I don't know, there is a cult of death. Even in quite light TV shows, people are dying or being killed off. And I know that is a reality, but that's often the emphasis, isn't it? That it's all about death. But actually, death isn't just about people physically dying. Death is really all those things that would destroy us. Injustice and fear and prejudice, and hatred. All those things are also a kind of death, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
So that this idea of light, actually it shines. It's actually a light. It's not just about life in the narrowest sense. It's about life in the fullest sense, isn't it?
And that life, and I just love the promises from Jesus, who says, look, I've come to bring life in all its fullness, in abundance. And that's the opposite of that death, that injustice, that imprisonment, that pain that we inflict on each other, and that trauma that we've encountered. Jesus is saying, yeah, I'll bring the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not, as you say, roses. It's not all pretty. It's not. But in the midst, so what I'm encountering is that right in the midst of the most hopeless situation, we find Jesus. And my experience of just life and hanging out with people, spending time on the streets, and is like Jesus walks into the most ridiculous, dark situations that you do not expect. And I think that's why people have this, in times of death, when we're at funerals, there is this sense of, well, this can't be it.
Yeah.
I think Jesus does somehow walk into the funerals and the mourning and the grieving, and brings that sense of, this can't be it.
Yeah,
there must be more.
Yeah, there's few things sadder than when you meet people who think that's it. I've nothing left. Well, I guess we all have stories of that kind of tragic, awful emptiness, don't we?
Yeah.
So that life in all its fullness, and that's what part of my beef with the historic church, particularly the medieval church, is that it just emphasizes, well, when you die, it'll all be all right. And that's a travesty of the words of Jesus. Jesus doesn't say, well, put up with it now, because when you die, everything's going to be great. Jesus says it starts now. It's about now, which is why the church should be involved in things around justice and peace and joy and positive, and health. All these things that the church does. These are things that are actually about life now, like glory now, isn't it?
Come on, Neil. That's really encouraging. Love it.
Anyway, do you want to tell us briefly, because I keep going on, do you want to tell us about what you're doing when you come to Chelmsley in a few days, I think, by when we screen this?
Oh yeah, can't wait. Yeah, it's going to be good. So I'm going to show some of my artwork. I'm going to be hanging out with you guys on I'm calling you guys, I hope that's okay, hanging out with you guys.
Well, we don't like gender exclusive language, but we'll
okay. So I'm going to be with you on the Sunday morning and celebrating with you on the theme of death and glory. So we'll gather together as church, And then in the afternoon, I'm going to show some of my paintings, talk about them. Hopefully, we'll have some guests who will come along. And on the Monday morning, I want to be available to paint for people. So something that I love to do, Neil, in public is I love to paint specific little watercolors, put them in nice little mounts, so they make a nice gift. But they're from my heart, but I hope that they bring encouragement and strength and comfort to people. So I'd love to do that. I'm going to bring a little art shop as well with some of my artwork that I've produced, some prints, some little cards, that kind of thing. So yeah, I can't wait to hang out with you. Be great.
It should be good. Well, we'll see you then you'll be here Sunday morning. I'm just checking the date. It's the 29th of October.
29th. Yeah.
And then there'll be an event in the afternoon as well. And I say on the Monday morning, at least you'll be around as well if people want to come and see you and look at some of your art and have a conversation.
Yeah, so, until lunchtime, I reckon.
Great. Well, before you go, we'll run those pictures again so people get another flavour of where you're coming from. And there'll also be a link to your site as well if people want to explore a bit further who you are and what you're about and the kind of stuff you do.
Great. Can't wait to see you.
It'd be good to see you. Thanks very much for your time now as well. See you soon.
Thanks. See you soon.
Bye.